to For Collectors.
Hey, good evening, baseball fans. I don't know. I don't know what I use for my intro for this channel. I got my own channel, as you know. My name's Dan. I am the newest for collectors. And look, you see the ad? We're doing Hobby Palooza again this year, but we're doing a lot. Not 3 full days, but 3 days, 30 hours. All live streams. It's going to be super exciting. So I think that's the first time we played the Hobby Palooza ad. So I feel special that the guys gave me the intro, which I totally fumbled. But anyway, so this is For Collectors, and welcome to the live stream. Let's see who we got in here. That is, in fact, a new microphone. Whoops. There it is. It is a new microphone. Jimmied or jerry-rigged or whatever you want to call it, a little bit of a stand here, which is not going to last for a week because I ordered some from Amazon. So I got a real stand coming in. Oh, there we go. How you doing, Dave? Good morning. Good evening, Orlando. Good morning. Yeah, I woke up from a nap, so it feels like the morning. Let me see who else we got here. Jacob Dahl. Good evening. Good evening to you, Stukes. Drew, how's it going? Jay Hawker, there we go. Ross, hello. Peeps. Peter B. Howdy, folks. There you go. Signs of the pastime. There we go. Orlando, we said hello, hello, hello. Ooh. Keith, how are you? Steven, your name is going to come up. And nice to see you again. And Carl, hello from Australia. I don't know what time it is over there, but it's not the same time as now as us. Anyway, I'm a little not giddy. What's the word? I'm a little punch drunk from taking a long nap. I worked a card show today, so I got up at like 6 something in the morning and worked a full card show, and then came home and slept for like 2 hours. So let's see if we can make this a little bit better. But anyway, let me bring on my guests, Jake and Mitchell. How are you guys?
Doing fantastic, Dan.
Good evening. Great.
I'm just like, giddy that we got this show going because a week ago or 2 weeks ago I didn't have this microphone, I didn't have this thing in the background, I didn't have the new camera, and now I'm all getting fancy and stuff. It's like pro time here. And I know, Mitchell, you just showed us a new display that you're working on.
Yeah, preview both. It'll be coming out soon. I'll work on it tomorrow. Waiting for a couple more things to get delivered, and then this one will be done. I have a few more things to hang up to put more cards on the wall. So coming soon. The card room is getting close to completion. So
I can say that
it's awesome. I love it already. So yeah.
The work is terrible. The work sucks. Putting these things together was torture. But once it's done, it's so rewarding. So I'm very happy. And it feels like that's maybe a good transition for like the subject of this show, which is set building and the challenge of a 1967 set build, which I know one of you guys has completed and one of you guys is close, and me, not so close, but not bad. I got all these boxes filled with commons in penny sleeves. I got some slabs of Hall of Famers. I got my Tom Seaver rookie, and then I got a bunch of other Hall of Famers that I pulled out. We're going to show some photos. But how do you guys, Jake? What's your feeling about this particular set, and why is it that you decided to collect this particular set? Although I know you're collecting a lot of sets.
Yeah, I'm only doing like 50 sets at the same time. So there wasn't like a specific reason why, other than I, think all of the mainstream top sets from 79 back are, a part of the history of collecting and of the game. So I'm building the set. But I really do love the 67 top set. It's actually my personal favorite of the decade. Even over 65, even over 60. There's something about 67 to me that, like, the team names across the bottom, just the letters in color just really pop. A full picture of photography with it. The facsimile signature just feels very period. We'll get a lot of the specific images, but there are plenty of things that just scream like 1960s to me, from the equipment to the logos, the uniforms, the hats that you can see. I just think they're really cool and indicative of the time period.
Yeah, we had a private conversation, I guess, I don't know, within the last couple of weeks about 60 sets. And I know you did a show. I think was it on Theo's channel, or was it on For Collectors? I forget.
It was here.
It was here. Going through the 60 sets and figuring out, and that whole thing. And it was a really great show. And I basically aligned mostly with you. So and then you said, what are your 3 favorite sets? And you predicted them for me before I was even able to tell you, which I thought was great. It was 60 is my favorite. 67 and 65 are like tied for second. So, but I know where you're coming from on that. And now, Mitchell, you have actually completed the set, right?
Yeah, and those are my 3 favorite sets from the decade too, by the way. So they found some very like-minded individuals for the show tonight. Yeah,
Awesome.
You forgot to mention the avocado green background. So that was definitely very trendy, including my parents' avocado green appliances that they kept well into the 80s in our houses. But yeah, no, I completed it 2022. I think that's when I did it. And that's when I kicked off doing some other projects, including the ones I'm working on right now. But I had sequentially was going backwards at that point. So I just finished 68, was doing 67 as the next step, but I also decided to skip 10 years and do 57 too. So I was doing both at the same time. And it definitely learned that the 57 set is much easier to complete, even with its short prints in there, with the big rookies in there, than it was the 67 set. And I got through 1 through 533 in no time. Yes, and I had a couple high numbers, I think, through a couple lots that I bought. I'm like, oh, this is going to be simple. And I think that was in 2020. So it took me 2 additional years to find all the cards I needed for the high numbers on there. Part of it was financial. Part of it was trying to find them in general at prices that I was comfortable paying. But sometimes it was just hard finding some of the cards. If you did, they were sky high prices on eBay, buy it nows and things like that, which I'm sure we'll kind of get into too. The one that kind of comes to mind is the Red Sox team card. That's one sometimes you find several online, and then you sometimes find none of them online at the same time. So yeah.
So I guess we can look at some pictures. Mitchell, you sent me some binder pages, which I think are fantastic. Any reason why you selected these particular pages?
For a couple of reasons. I mean, obviously, who's gonna argue and be mad at me for picking Mickey Mantle, I imagine, on there. And it's probably in my best condition Mickey Mantle of any cards that I have that of his at this point. So that was one I sniped at the very end and got it in an auction for a very reasonable price, probably in 2019, right before the boom happened, the COVID boom. Couldn't get it at that price now, and so it was thrilling to be able to pick it up that time. But you also get to see the World Series cards in there. So they're obviously set up like the TV sets and with broadcast in black and white at that point. And you got Jim Palmer on there, kind of featured in the second World Series card on there, as well as you got other Hall of Famers on there like Steve Carlton listed up there at the top. But for me, just kind of looking at both of these pages together, this is for me part of the thrill of putting the cards in binders. I just like seeing what card comes next, and I think we all can relate to the thrill of finishing a page when you're doing it, because you're okay, that's one less page I need to do. As I kind of complete these pages, I always kind of go through the sets and I'm okay, how many pages in a row do I have where I have all of them? I have a streak of 10 straight pages with all the cards in here. So like little dorky things like that kind of really get me stoked as I kind of like start trying to complete the set in its entirety. And obviously when you got to the high series, that was even like double the amount of excitement when you'd finish a page on that one. So I mean, the second page I kind of picked because you get to see also like some of the multiple player images that you see here, as well as the team card. Because you got like the Al Kaline coming there down there with Norm Cash, and you see the team cards with like the bright colors and then the team picture superimposed upon it. I think are pretty eye catching as opposed to just like a blank photo throughout it. And I think you cut off Bob Gibson's head there with the For Collectors logo. But
Yeah,
I won't hold that against you or For Collectors, but you know, you are kind of hurting one of my dad's favorite ball players. But hopefully he's not watching. So
well, the Stukes makes a reference to the multiplayer cards, and yeah, that's the Cash and K line. There was it called Bengal Bouters or something, Bengal Belters, which there's several of those, and in fact, I have one coming up in a little bit with Mays and McCubby, which is a good one. So you get the combo cards. I don't know the team cards with the sort of they're like with just the color background. I don't know. I prefer the team cards like on a field or something. I don't know. These sort of don't really work with me.
I love all the alternating colors with it. So I think that's what's kind of exciting for me, is that it's different colors that kind of pop off the page in the same way like the team names do, with all the different colors they have embedded in the picture as well.
They definitely stand out. There's no doubt about that.
Whether you like it or not, they stand out.
Yeah, Dom makes reference to all the yellow. There is a lot of yellow in this set. But the other thing is the pictures, and I'll get into this a little later because I did a slide of just cards that just speak to me. You get a lot of spring training photos, but there are some stadium photos. If you look at it, who is it? Jack, was it? I can't even read the name. Jack
LeMay.
Yeah. He's that's Yankee Stadium behind him, which is a cool shot.
Yeah.
But a lot of these ones with the blue background are like Joe Moeller is spring training. So we'll go through that a little bit. But so you picked out another one. You got is that a leader? Yeah, it's a leader card there, which is cool. You got 3 Hall of Famers on the leader cards.
Yeah, right. And you have like obviously our newly enshrined Hall of Famers in the middle of them. Dick Allen in there, surrounded by Mays and Aaron too. And then you also have Aaron's card on the page as well. I think as a set collector, these are the kind of things that can get me really excited. It's like, who else is on this page as I kind of go through it. But it's not limited to that too. Like you can enjoy all the different cards of the players for your favorite teams as you kind of look through here, but also you can kind of also track the lineage of like certain players over a course of like several years and how many different teams they kind of bounced around on. So like I do pretty well on the Immaculate Grid because I did collect sets. So you can find some of those obscure players that played like half a season for a team that weren't a Hall of Famer or a star, and you get like those like less than 1% scores when you put it in there. So that's where I kind of grabbed some of that stuff. And then obviously on the second page there, you can't talk about 67 without talking about the 67 Red Sox and the 67 Carly Yastrzemski in there, with him getting the last Triple Crown before Miguel Cabrera did it, several years ago now. But we had that big gap where we didn't have a Triple Crown winner, and this was obviously the season that kind of encouraged Major League Baseball to lower the amount because the pitchers were having, lowering the amount. Was it? I'm getting all backwards now, but yeah, it was the next year was the year of the pitcher at that point.
Yeah, next year, but 67 was still a pitcher's year. Interestingly enough,
so I got that a little messed up, but yeah,
the set does not have Koufax except in leader cards. So it's the first year you don't get Koufax. So, but he was dominant in 66, so he's in like 3 leader cards. But what you were saying about guys bouncing around in different teams, you got Moose Skowron on the White Sox, which is always kind of interesting.
Well, this was his home. He was a Chicago guy, so it was really cool to have him with the White Sox. So. Yeah,
he is a Chicago guy. And then of course Clemente, who unfortunately has the Bob on it. But oh well.
Yeah, you're still
And then
bobbing these cards, unfortunately. Yeah.
there's the Atlanta Aces card, which is actually a shortstop and a pitcher instead of two pitchers. Oh well.
Because they were short
So
on aces that day. So
yeah. And then we got this Palmer and
you got
Perez.
good old
That's
Jeff Torberg on there. I managed my White Sox for a little while in the early 90s. So.
yeah. Oh, it was Ralph Houck from the Yankees manager there. I didn't even know Houck was still the manager in '67. Oh well. And then this is a high number
Can you back
page.
up and show like wanted to show that second page there? Like that, I think is the most beautiful. Can you back up one? I wanted to show like the most beautiful Tony Perez card down in the corner there. I didn't want to like skip over that real quick because I think that is like my favorite card in this set. I just love they were able to kind of capture almost his entire name on the back of his jersey because he's leaning in as if he's like leaning into home plate, facing a pitcher, and you see this 24 on there, and you have the sleeveless uniforms of that era. It just pops to me. I love that card. Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of capture that one before you went away from it.
Well, Orlando agrees with you. So, and then high numbers.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I have the Belanger card. Do you have the Belanger card, Jake?
No, I'm 74.9% done with the set. I like 153, and that is amongst them.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think I lucked into it in like a lot where the person didn't know what they had. So what are you going to do? That's how you say. We'll get to that a little bit later when we start talking about, some advice and some experiences. Let me just ask you a question, unrelated. How is my audio sound? Is it okay?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Good on my end. Yeah.
Because I had audio issues the last time I did a For Collector show. If you recall, I did the oversized cards with Jason and Aaron, and my audio was all weird the whole time. So anyway, maybe the new mic is good. All right. So nice. Thank you. Everybody's giving me a great on that. So high numbers. Jake, do you have a strategy for them? Is there something? Is there a way you're going about them? Because I know some of these are really tough. Bunning is really tough.
I think for me, because I'm building so many sets simultaneously, I tend to always be more inclined to buy the bigger dollar Hall of Famers and the tougher to find cards from any set, which for this one definitely would be the vast majority of the high numbers. There are a few that are double printed that are a little bit easier to find, not as expensive, not as tough. But there are some that are very tough. Like the Brooks Robinson is definitely on the short list. Not just because I'm a Brooks Robinson fan, but it's one of the toughest, if not the toughest card in the set to get. Also, at the same time, you've got the Seaver rookie, you've got the Carew rookie. Those are popular, and in my opinion, they're more likely to rise in value than your average high number, your average common. So if you're building a set, pick those up before they're out of your price range, regardless of what condition you like them in.
Did you have a particular strategy with regard to the high numbers, Mitchell?
I did. I actually had some help with this. So Dre Diaz is another guy in the community. I think was aware I was working on this set, and this is my first year, I think, on YouTube too. And I knew him through a personal friend, and so we've become friends since then. And he would go around to card shows, and he asked for like my checklist as we kind of go through there. So, he was helping me out, trying to find cards at shows, and sometimes he'd find them at like card shops and thrift shops and all kinds of different places he was visiting to find cards. And so we kind of sort of worked on the list together, which was helpful because he was able to find some cards that were going to be cheaper than what they were selling for on eBay. But other than that, I just spent probably like a good 2 years going to card shows, and that would be the first thing I'd be looking around at shows for. We kind of go around and go to the tables and ask, do you have any 67 high numbers? And inevitably they had the ones that were double printed. Every now and then they'd have one that was a short print card in there, and if I didn't have it already, I would get it at that time. But sometimes it would be like I go to a card show looking for these things, and I'd find just one out of the whole show. I think even when I went to the 2021 National, I had a hard time finding them there because I think when I went on Saturday, A lot of the dealers said I had them earlier in the week, but people cleaned me out at that point. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to get these here today. I think I ended up maybe getting 5 when I came in there hoping to get like 20 at that show. But I slowly kind of worked up to it. The last couple cards I got were the big ones, so it probably wouldn't be the way I might advise people to do it now. A lot of that was more financial than anything. But I think within a 3-month period, I kind of knocked out Carew, Seaver, Rocky Colavito, and Brooks Robinson, all in that short little period of time. I think I was getting so frustrated, I think, with the set and excited at the same time that it was so close that I just went all in and grabbed them at that point. But
yeah, when you get
yeah,
close,
that was kind of my strategy. Yeah,
when you get close, it's one of those things where you want to finish, so you're willing to take a step up. So you do have some slabs, which are nice. Hoyt Wilhelm, which is a fantastic card.
Mhm.
I love that card. And then the Colavito, which we just talked about, which is a high number. It's number 580, and it's difficult. It's not a double print.
More expensive than his rookie card. Yeah,
That's a tough one.
And
this is the first set where I bought slabs to get some of the cards. Just that I also was uncomfortable buying something like a Seaver online that wasn't already graded. Just wasn't sure what I would kind of get in return. So that way, at least I felt more comfortable doing it at that point.
Tom's talking about the Whitey Ford's 5 different cards where he's got the hand out.
Yeah. Well, the 67 card would probably be a reverse image of this, right?
Yeah. I think I actually have one coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So there's Carew, which I took the easy way out on Carew. Mine's a 1. It's a beater one too, but you got yourself a nice little 4 there. So
yeah, I think it was maybe my promotion gift for myself. I think I got a promotion at work and kind of celebrated with the card. So I do that. I think I can encourage people sometimes to treat yourself sometimes, but obviously within reason. Yeah.
I do not have the
Hank
Carew
Allen.
rookie yet.
No, yeah, it's not a terribly difficult one, but I mean it is pricey. I think it's come down a little bit in the last couple of years. Yeah, this is really creased. I should upgrade this.
I believe there's more of these than there are the Seaver. If I'm not mistaken, I think this one might actually be double printed, as opposed to Seaver, which obviously is not at that point.
It seems much tougher and is definitely much more expensive.
Yeah,
Did we kind of mention why these are so scarce? Do we want to go into that a little bit too? Why the high series for this are just so nuts to find?
Yeah, share that, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think even the previous series, I think it's the 6th series, is also a little difficult to get. They obviously were releasing these along the course of the baseball season, but I believe by the time they released the final series, it was already September. Kids were back at school. Football cards had come out. Football was on TV. So the store owners just weren't buying these for sale, because they still had a lot of the 5th and 6th series for sale for purchase for all their customers, so they had no need. So Topps just didn't print as many. I also in doing research for the video I did on this set, I think there was also stories that they never shipped west of the Mississippi, although I think that's been debated. But there's definitely certain parts of the country that didn't get these at all. I know Stuke mentioned that too, I think, in one of my videos at that point, that he couldn't get these.
He only got 4 series. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm old enough to have collected as a child 70 and 72 and 71 also too. But I actually remember getting cards on a trip to Cape Cod in the 1970 set that I had never seen before, that were not distributed in New York. So that's not an uncommon scenario. And 72, I remember collecting well into the summer and getting all of those traded cards and the high numbers in the 72s in rack packs in like a store that nobody ever shopped in, like a 5 and dime. So I think that they were just at that point, nobody really gave a crap about baseball cards in like, August or September. So that's definitely a thing that I personally experienced. So both of those things are. Years ago, a collector was hoarding Brooks Robinson card. Yeah, well, we're going to get to Brooks in a little bit, but I think that's something that I can talk about that. Well, this Seaver, of course, which Jake, do you have this one? Please.
Don't have that one either, man. Don't have that one either. I need that.
I'm going to give myself a solo so I can show. But yeah, you got the light and I got to do better with the camera. But I got the Seaver. It's really nicely centered. It's a 4. It's it should be better than a 4 because it's got a little like a little wax residue right on Dennehy's head. So I've considered cracking this out, getting rid of the wax and then sending it back in, but I don't know. I don't want to play games with it. So and then Mitch, you got a 4 also. There you go.
I did. And the person I bought it off of didn't know I was on YouTube at the time I bought it. And then I did my full set presentation video after I got this card and completed the set a few weeks later. And he's like, oh, and he put in the comments like, I see, this is my card. You have my card. I'm so glad it's part of your set now. I really enjoyed your video. Thank you.
That's cool.
So that was kind of funny. Like, oh, that was unexpected. But I guess he can always look at his card if he wants. Just kind of go to my channel and my history, I guess, to see the set again.
That is one of the nice things about having a YouTube channel is when that happens. That happened to me at a couple of shows. Like a dealer that I bought from and then shouted him out on my channel. The next time I saw him at another show, he was like, I saw your video. Thanks. All that kind of stuff, it's very rewarding. So that's a good story. Okay. So this is a high number rookie card.
It is.
Two guys that I don't really know that much about, actually.
I picked this one because it's the last card I got for the set. And I actually won 2 in a 2-day span. I put bids on both of them. And I was at work, I think, when I won this one. I didn't think I'd win it, but I think it went off at such a weird time that I got it fairly inexpensive. So not only was it the final one I needed, but I lost this card so many times in the course of those 2 years where I was really focusing on the high numbers that I swear that grin on Ramon's face was just him laughing at me every time I lost an auction. And then I won. I ended up getting 2 at the same time. And so I later sold the other one off. But yeah, he pitched for a little while. But this is only the only card of Norm Gigan. So that's kind of interesting too, because like if you're like a family member and you want to get a card from his playing days, this is it. So I think that's also kind of the fun of like getting like the common players in some of these sets too, is their stories and like sometimes their short-lived careers and things like that, especially in the vintage sets in particular. So I just kind of thought that was kind of interesting too. I think he only played like 4 or 5 games for the Cubs. And that was about it. So.
I wonder how many of them were in the infield and how many were in the outfield, since he's infield, outfield.
I don't know. It was in the same game. They just got to move him around.
Just moving around.
They didn't know what.
He's not destined for greatness when his rookie card has multiple positions on it.
Even this day, I think Ramon is still laughing at me right now. So I was like, look at that. You got to get that one off the screen.
All right. Well, we get this one. This one's laughing at everyone because I don't have this one.
It's off center, top to bottom, but I don't care. It's a great card. I mean, it's the same image they used for the 69 card. And I can't tell you how many times people listed a 69 card as a 67 when I was like searching for cards on eBay. And I almost ended up buying 69 a couple times, which I already had. Just because I'm like, oh, it's such a great deal. Like, wait a minute. That's the wrong card. That's the 69 tops Brooks Robinson. So spoiled again at that point, but I was happy to be able to get it. This is another one that took me a few times to be able to get it as well. I saw it a few times at a couple of different card shows, and the dealers just weren't willing to budge on the price, which it's within their right to do so, and I'm sure they were going to find a buyer to do it anyway. But I was wanting to get it for probably about $75 cheaper than some of the prices I was seeing, and then I finally saw one up at a buy it now. I think it was maybe on eBay within the price range that I wanted, and I just grabbed it at that time because I was so close. I think it was down to like 5 cards. This was one of those 5 cards that I still needed.
Yeah, I saw one of his on a Facebook group. My friend Brett was the one offering it, and he did one of those auctions, one of those Facebook auctions, starting at like 5. And I thought, and it was a beater copy, and I thought it was going to go for like 50. It was up like 150 like within a day. People really want this card. I mean, I guess it fits if you're a Brooks Robinson collector, if you're an Orioles collector, and obviously if you're a 67 set builder, this is one of the ones that you're going to need. So people want it. I'm always amazed at how expensive it gets, but oh well, I'll get it eventually.
It's a pretty card. I think the way it's just kind of
designed. It is a nice card. It's a spring training card, but he's smiling. He's got the helmet on. He's got a very sort of Brooksy type batting stance. So it is a good card.
You can see just a little bit of the B Robinson on the back of the jersey too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get the uniforms confused with F Robinson at that time. Might not quite fit, right?
Yeah. So I guess I don't know if you guys know this, but Brooks Robinson's helmets had, for some reason, I don't know why, like the brim was like half the size. Yeah, I don't know what was up with that.
Probably personal preference, I imagine, at that point.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, you got to get it. All right, so I put together a few slides just of Hall of Famers. You got the Ford with the handout, was referenced before. You got Tony Oliva with the background of Yankee Stadium, which is beautiful. I love this Ernie Banks card. It's like, it's his personality. He's got the bat. He's all business, but he's smiling, and so I like that card. This Lou Brock card is also fantastic. The red, the red is terrific.
He still looks pretty youthful in this picture too.
Yeah, I think that might actually be an old picture because I'm looking in the background. I think it's Sportsman Park, which I guess was still open in '67. Mitch, you have a St. Louis connection background, right?
I do. It probably would have been about the time that they were switching over to Busch Stadium. So I think Busch Stadium may have been featured in the '67 World Series too. So yeah, I don't know how long it may have been open, but it probably was definitely taken. It's not Busch Stadium, obviously. It was taken there or someplace else, maybe spring training.
Right. Oh yeah.
Tony
if you ever get a chance to listen to Orlando's video about meeting Brooks Robinson in either the dugout or the clubhouse in spring training, it's a really wonderful story.
Tony Oliva there with the one glove that he looks like O.J. Simpson.
Poor Tony.
We would get an O.J. reference. There you go.
I don't recognize this uniform that Luis Aparicio's in. What's with that? It looks
if the
wrong.
Glove fits,
it's like in the wrong uniform. That's fine.
If the glove fits, you can hit.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Jim Cott, Billy Williams, Gaylord Perry, who I guess in '66 he's the last card in the set, but '67 he's not that hard. Fergie, sort of pitching, but also with a weird thing in his hand. Mm-hmm. My stained Carl Yastrzemski, which I got for virtually no money in a big lot, and then Hoyt, who we talked about before. So there's one of the combo cards, which I put in here because it's got Mays and McCovey, who are both Hall of Famers. I guess that's got to be spring training because it's all blue in the background. And, of course, Richie Allen, who preferred to be called Dick Allen, but they didn't care back then. He signed Rich, though, on the facsimile autograph. Palmer, Marichal, and Mazeroski are all semi-high numbers, I believe. So I got them. Although I think Marichal is double printed.
One of the other cool thing about that Mays and McCovey, I mean, that's 2 500 home run club members right there. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Still
my
really
slabs.
affordable too. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You got the Seaver, the Karua says a 1. Very happy with the Hank in a 6. That's a very nice card, really nicely centered. What is arguably the worst Mickey Mantle card? It's the Hangover card. People say he looks like he's in the dugout with a hangover, which might well be true. And then there's Clemente, of course, with the unfortunate Bob. Nice Clemente card though. He looks a little pained, but not smiling, but still a decent profile shot. And then, so I picked out 5 cards. I went through every card that I own in the set, which is, I don't know, I guess about 400 cards. And picked out 5 cards that I thought were just really, really special for a number of reasons. And I'm wondering if you guys have any thoughts on any of these 5 cards. Jake?
You know I do, Dan. There's one that you picked that I was very excited that you picked because I had mine handy too. I've got my Dave Ricketts. It's a high number, but that's not why it's special to me. This card just reminds me of Squints in the Sandlot, man. I love this card. It's such a fun one, man. I love that one.
Yeah. But the glasses speak to like 19. I had an uncle, my Uncle Ralph, who lived to the age of 101. He had those glasses, like thick black frames, which are very similar to kind of the ones I'm wearing right now.
Yeah, my
but
dad
very
had
thick,
those.
thick lenses too. Very sort of 60s glasses. And he's got the color on this card with the red in his jersey, the blue of the Cards team, the green. It's just like, it's a beautiful card, regardless of how kind of cool it is for any number of reasons. So I put up Tony C, because Tony C is this card kind of is sad in many ways, but also very sort of celebratory. It's a 67 Red Sox card. It's spring training when the Red Sox were not expected to do virtually anything that season, certainly not win the pennant. Tony Canigliaro was at like the top of the world at that point. He was a superstar, and he was only like 24 years old by 67, I think. But in August of that season, he would get beamed in the eye, and it would change his life and his career. And even though the Red Sox went on to win the pennant, they did it without Tony C. So I thought this card was kind of poignant in many respects. The Cleon Jones I like because it's sort of it's the Mets. Cleon was a star in '69 Mets, but in '67 he was just kind of establishing himself. So you got the Rookie Cup. He's in spring training. He's very young looking in this picture, and it's like he's got like a nice sort of look on his face, like everything, all the future's in front of me on this card. So I kind of felt like that was, and it's a nice picture too. Like it's the framing is well done, and it's a picture that is very flattering to him. Freehand is the other one that I picked because I thought this is just like, this dude was a rock. And he was a great catcher, and it's a classic catcher pose. He's coming up out of the crouch about the throw. It's obviously a posed photograph, but it's a great posed photograph.
He's
and
probably
then
was
Maloney,
the best American League catcher in that era, right? The late 60s. I can't think of another name that I would put above him.
Some people think he should be a Hall of Fame catcher.
I wouldn't argue against it. Yeah.
Freehand, absolutely. No question about it. He's like a 7-time All-Star, or maybe even more. Somebody in the chat could tell me.
And look at the guys he caught too. Like they had some great seasons with him behind the plate. So.
And then Maloney, I know you and I, Mitchell, we did a show probably like a year ago on the '64 Giants on my channel, where we talked a little bit about Maloney. He's kind of like a forgotten absolute stud from the 1960s. He threw 2 no-hitters and actually threw a third, but he doesn't get credit for it because he lost it in the 10th inning. And he's just, in this picture, it's just like classic Reds uniform with the vest and the red sleeves and the hat. And he's just a stud, and he's warming up on the side in an actual stadium. He's not in spring training like the other guys. So these 5 cards kind of spoke to me. Do you guys
I
pull
really
out
like
any
about that
cards?
card is that green reds too. I think that just really pops on that card. Yeah.
There we go. 5-time Gold Glover. There we go. 11-time All-Star. There you go. And Freehand should be in. I totally agree. 11-time All-Star. 10 consecutive. So, yeah. I don't know why he's not in, except, he doesn't have the great numbers, I guess. So, I mean,
It's a
like
shame. Yeah.
he doesn't have
If Yachty gets in, I
3,000
think you
hits
need to look at
or
him.
whatever.
It's the same kind of argument in my mind. Maybe Yachty has a little bit better offensive numbers, but guys that just dominated the game from their plate, behind the plate.
Just
Yeah,
just
I
go
mean, if you
listen. Just go listen to the future of the Hall of Fame catcher on Cracking Cooperstown. I mean, we talk about him.
well, catchers are underrepresented. Particularly Munson. There's a few others. Del Crandall's a possibility. I think Del Crandall's. Oh yeah, there we go. Mike Good reference it. Del Crandall. Freehand was mentioned. There's several catchers I think that don't get. And if Ted Simmons is in, then Freehand is just as good. Period. So anyway, so let's see. We were going to talk about particularly compelling cards that you guys thought about. Any that you have to display? You think?
I picked a few like fun and different ones that you may not think about because they're not Hall of Famers or anything like that. Mostly,
Cool.
To talk about like some things about the set. Like I pulled a Rico Cardi. Now I'm a Braves fan, obviously, but you can see the full old Indian head logo there, and that blue in this set with the team name really pops. I know we showed this one already, but the combo card of the Cards Clubbers with Brock and Flood, like that's a great card. Then I pulled a rookie cup of Randy Hundley because
Almost picked that one too. Yeah.
it's just a cool card, man, with all the catcher's equipment from that era, and the rookie cups on there, the old trophy, the Cubs in the orange against all his blue, padding and hat and everything there. That's a cool one.
And that catcher's mitt is used, man. That catcher's mitt.
Then like the floating heads checklists.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the checklists. Yeah, good point.
I pulled the Willie Mays out because, like, as far as checklists go, even though people are like anti-floating head, I think these are some of the cooler checklists in all of the vintage runs that they actually have players on them.
Yep.
I pulled the Jim Cott for the purpose of that lettering being green.
Yeah.
And I think that vintage cards like that green just says vintage to me, and the backs are actually green.
Yep.
And in the post-war era, the reason I think green just screamed vintage to me is there was so much leftover green paint from the war that like they painted the dugouts green, they painted parts of the stadiums green, they painted everything green. So I think of vintage baseball with that dark green, army green color. Then Bob Veal, because like look at those specs, man. Those are fun.
Oh man, Bob Veal was a monster. I mean, this guy could throw the ball like his strikeout numbers are insane. He's in some of those leader cards actually because of that.
Yeah.
He also walked a lot of guys too, which didn't help.
And like I'm a big hat guy, so like it's also cool to see like the green under brim hat. Like that's a thing, vintage hats with the green under brim. Like that's cool. And then I already showed off my boy Dave Ricketts, but there he is. And the Sandlot was set in 1962, so 60s era. So there are a lot of fun cards in there.
So let's see. I guess I wanted to talk about like advice that we got that we might have for people building the set. If you were thinking about building it, what would you say? How to start? How to approach the high numbers? And just generally speaking, what what would be like a strategy for this particular set? Jake?
I think that if I was specifically collecting this set and no others, and I was focusing on it, I would first decide, kind of what condition I wanted to do it in. Like myself, I'm doing the set raw in lower condition. I like eye appeal and own appeal, right, Dan? That's really what I'm going for. I would prefer like centered ones. I don't care as much about corners or maybe a ding here and there. That's cool. But I like centered, nice color, nice registration, lower grade cards. That being said, I would reach as high as I could in my means before cards got out of my range, meaning I would go after the Seaver rookie. I'd go after the Carew rookie. I'd go after the Brooks Robinson card. The Mantle, Mantle's always going to be in demand and his price will continue to rise over time. I would start there, and then some of the tougher, high numbers in addition to Brooks, like the Rocky Colavito, the Bellinger, and a few others, and then Hall of Famers. Because if you knock out those things, it's downhill from there, right? The commons you're going to find lots. You're going to be able to pick them up easier. But there are 43 Hall of Famers in just base card alone in this set. That's not counting the combo cards. That's not counting the checklist. Just the base card alone, there's 43. So there's quite a few Hall of Famers to get in the set itself, ranging from, the Jim Hunters of the world, Catfish Hunter, that you can get for, a few bucks, up to the Brooks Robinson. That's an expensive, tough, high number. That's what I would do if I was focusing solely on this set. And generally what I am doing as deals fall in my lap.
Yeah. Mitch, any advice having completed the set you think people might want to know?
Yeah, I hear a lot of people like kind of don't want to do the 67 because they like they're not comfortable paying $30-$40 for a common card. Which I totally understand. So if that's the way you're at, where you're at, then don't try to like rationalize that you're going to be able to complete the 67 set, because that's just not feasible. But you can do 1 through 533. So I think that'd be like the first thing might like encourage somebody to do if you don't want to do the high numbers, but you like the 67 set, like just do 1 through 533 if you want to do. If I were to do it over again, though, I think I would follow very much what Jake said. I would kind of target those high numbers and the Hall of Famers first, probably at least on the high number side. I'd probably make sure to get the Cardinals in addition to the Red Sox too, the World Series combatants that year, because they also command a premium, especially in that high series. Like Mike Shannon is like an expensive card too. I didn't pull him, but he's one that's kind of pricey up there. So is that Red Sox team card that I think I mentioned earlier. It just kind of goes for what more than you'd expect.
Yeah.
And so just kind of being prepared for that. That's probably where it would kind of start and kind of knock them out. Because like you said, Jake, you just buy lots to get most of the commons knocked out. And sometimes there's also the Hall of Famers in some of those lots too that are like less expensive in the lower numbers to be able to kind of round out the set at that point. But I think that would be like the first thing you'd probably want to tackle is are you really okay like paying this much for a common? Because I kind of consider this to be kind of like the gateway drug set, if you will, to buying more expensive vintage sets. Because it wasn't a surprise after I finished this that I put on the Diamond Stars on my list of sets to complete, because I had gotten comfortable, spending $30-$40 on a common card, knowing I'd have to do that to be able to complete that set.
So I'm not building 50 sets. So I have a little bit of a different vantage point, but I'm building 67, 68, and 69 pretty much at the same time, which means that my strategy is buy lots, quarter a card, whatever, fill up all the cards I don't have. And then I put the rest in my box and sell them at shows. So that's really where I'm at. And sometimes in those lots you can come up with a high number, sometimes not. I buy high numbers here and there. I bought four or five high numbers in Strongsville and the 67 set. That as the opportunities present themselves, you get them. But you know, at some point, like with my 54 Bowman, it got to the point where I was so close that like I had to go out and buy particular cards for, you know, retail price, but got them. So I feel like, you know, I mean, it's a combination of different strategies, but I feel like whenever you're set building, if you're going to buy big lots, you're going to be, you know, and you have a way to dispose of the extras or the doubles or, you know, the repeats or the whatever, however you want to describe them, you can get them. I do also like to build sets these days from the top down. There's the old adage that you're not really building a set until you have the mantle. But it's like I like to get the mantle and the Aaron and the Mays and the Clemente, and if it's earlier Koufax or whatever, just because I collect those guys anyway. So why not have them? And then you can build from the, you know, a lot of the commons you can get at quarter, you know, 25 cents a card or whatever. So that's kind of the way I feel.
One other thing too, to piggyback on that, Dan, like, you know, if
Yep.
you get into any set and you start with, you bought the Mantle, you bought the Aaron, you bought the Clementes, you know, and you decide, well, these high numbers suck. Like I'm getting out of 67. It's going to be really easy for you to move those if you want to, right?
Yeah.
They're the Aarons, they're the Clementes, they're the Mantles.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
When I've gotten in, yep. Go ahead.
Or you're, you know, you're not upset that you have an extra Clemente, a Manto, and Aaron, you know, right?
Yep.
So it's a good place to start from that vantage point if you decide to jump ship before you're done, as opposed to, well, I bought these huge lots of commons and now I don't want to do the set anymore. And those are going to be a little harder and more time consuming to move if you don't want
Well, the thing about buying lots is that, like you said, if there's a mantle in there, not a mantle, there would never be a mantle in a lot, but if there's like sometimes there's an Aaron in a lot, or there's some high numbers, and they're high numbers like that, you may have some of them already. You can move that stuff. And that's how I end up actually getting a lot of this stuff essentially for free, is by selling the lot cards for what I paid for the lot. And then what you keep in your own collection, essentially, you didn't pay for them. So, I mean, it takes work and it takes some diligence and it takes opportunities, but you know, it can be done. But that's kind of a transition to how I wanted to sort of finish this live stream, is the concept of set collecting in general. Because there was a live stream, I don't know, a little less than a week ago on a channel that I won't name. I'm just kidding. It was Midlife Live number 5. Having been a Midlife Live veteran, I was on Midlife Live too. And Greg is a very good guy, a asset to the hobby, and a good friend, and somebody who I think when it comes to set collecting is totally wrong. So there you go.
Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I got it on this one. Again, like what you like. Yeah, like the first thought that kind of in mind when you like put that as like a possible show note, I'm like, who cares? Who cares what you do, I do? Who cares? It's like do what you enjoy. And I think there's always still a space in the vintage space to be able to kind of do this for sure. And I've seen like some of the sets from the 50s and 60s just increase in value after I've completed them. So I think there is still a market for this. You know, granted, like if you have a single common card, you know, like from like 66 or 67, like that's not going to probably bring you a lot of joy and satisfaction. But I think when you're able to put together like a whole set, it just ups the value. And that value is important to you, which isn't a big factor in what I do. But you know, obviously, I'm not dumb, and I know that some of the cards I have a lot of value, like the Seaver. But it kind of gets down to like personal preference for me. Like, who cares that I also do modern cards at this one? Like, okay, like if you don't like modern cards, you don't have to enjoy my collection. Same thing with building vintage sets.
So I want to go back to this comment by Carlisle, which is abandoning set collecting, but team collecting, which I think is actually a solution in some respects. And I've adopted that with higher, more vintage, like the the 40. I'm never going to build the 49 Bowman, but I can build the 49 Bowman Brave set. Relatively not inexpensively. I'm never going to have the complete Crackerjack set because I'm not a millionaire. But if I work hard enough, I can get the Braves set from the 14 Braves are all in the 15 Crackerjack, and not all of them, but like it's a dozen. So it's not an inexpensive proposition, but it's certainly not, collecting the entire set. But when I talk about set collecting, I'm talking more 50s, 60s, and 70s, which I think are the sort of peak years for set collecting. Yeah. Team collecting, who would do that? Unless you want to own every card ever made by the entire team in history. That is, of course, Mark Hoyle, who has the most impressive Red Sox collection that I or anyone will ever see. And good evening to you, Mark. Yes, and here's the thing. My colleague from Four Collectors, John, says that it was Theo, not necessarily Greg, but Greg started it by doing the question. But it was Theo who said, yes, that set collecting is dying. Jake, is set collecting dying?
I don't think set collecting is dead. I do think set collecting is dying. And I'm a huge proponent of set collecting. And I agree with everything that Mitchell said. But if you're going to press me on the question, do I think it's dying? I would say, yeah. I mean, I sell extra cards. I sell cards as a side hustle to help fund my hobby. I sell tons and tons and tons of commons. 100% of them over the last 5 years were to people older than me. Not a single person that bought any of my commons, lots, individuals, didn't matter, were younger than me. Not one. And I'm 34. I think something that Carlisle said, I think the entry point, if you want to collect more than a set, if you want to collect sets on the mass that I do, you're a set collector and you want to do 50 vintage sets, that's a huge cost undertaking. Now, I do it from the vantage point of this is a lifetime hobby. I'm comfortable with that. And however far I get, great. I don't think most people view it that way. And it feels like an insurmountable mountain. I also have accepted that I'm a low grade collector. You do one set, Dom, okay? One. 65 tops, and you bemoan it. So don't give me that. But a lot of people feel like it's, an insurmountable mountain to collect a lot of sets at one time. It's cost prohibitive, especially if you want higher grade or if you like graded cards. So I don't like it. I don't like that it's going down as a continuous popular thing with coming generations. But on the same token, on the other side of the coin, I love it like I love grading because that means I have less competition for building my sets.
I would say with modern, it's not a thing. So there is some truth there. I know we're kind of focused more on vintage here, but I've never seen my nephews who got in cards for a while wanting to complete sets. They just wanted to get the players they really liked and the hits and things like that too. And that's what I think I see at card shows and stuff too. They don't really go through the boxes that have inexpensive commons and stuff like that for modern cards. They just want to kind of go get the big player that they're looking for, or the big parallel that could predict poorly into the future for set building for sure if they never had that foundation.
Well, even lots of guys in our space right now on YouTube, right? They have tweaked set building to their Hall of Fame set builders in some way, whether it's I'm doing the Hall of Fame run of such and such years, or you're doing what John's doing, where he's picked vintage, Hall of Fame cards from all these different sets and he's built his own set, right? Or different registries for players and so on. But traditional vintage set collecting in mass for multiple sets just isn't as common as it once was. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just don't think it is.
Well, a couple of things to back what you said, Jake. I am old enough to be one of those guys who would have a chair in front of a thing, but that's not the way I set collect. But I was given advice when I started doing local shows to bring a chair because I do bring the boxes with the commons for set collectors to do, and they do show up. And primarily, they are older people, no question about it. Anecdotally, there was one guy in his 20s who came up and bought out all my 73s because he's building the set. Great for him, but he's not like the sort of the way that it's going. And I agree with you that set collecting is an old person's thing. If you go to a big card show and you see the big all the binders with the sets and the guys going through with their lists on paper, they're all guys that are either my age or older. So that is the thing. I agree, Mitchell, that vintage collecting is really is set collecting at this point. You can't really build a modern set, and the commons, particularly like the base commons at this point in modern sets, are trash. I mean, they literally throw them in the garbage. There was a guy.
Yep.
There's a guy. I think it was Trike Sports, went to Nashville or something and bought like this gigantic collection and left behind in his hotel room all of the base commons, which I thought was kind of
In the
the tip for the
room,
cleaning
man?
service, was it?
maybe they take them home to their kids, and who knows? But is it dead? I hope not, because if it's dead, then that means I'm an old person. But is it dying? Probably not. I mean, those people are always going to be there at the tables with their lists, buying. That's always going to happen, and those guys are always going to have tables at big shows. So, like, it's always going to exist. Is it exist in our space? Like Jake said, I think there's a modification to it. Some of the guys are doing team sets. Some of the guys are doing Hall of Fame sets. Some of the guys are doing I know a guy who's doing the 52 set, but no high numbers. I know a guy who's doing the 52 set who's doing every card too, but that's a whole different story. And I have on my show occasionally people who've completed sets. I completed 48 Bowman not so long ago. I had a guest on who did the same thing. I had the guy who maybe a month and a half ago, the guy who did the 49 Bowman set. He's like top 10 on the set registry. So those people are out there. I just feel like if you're going to say it's a complicated question, that's really my ultimate conclusion. Here's another a veteran. Yeah. I wonder if younger collectors are people. It's the same question. Are younger collectors going to collect vintage? It's the same question in a bigger scale. And I don't know what the answer to that is.
Do we have time to tackle that one or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think a percentage of collectors will always gravitate that way at some point. If you stick around the hobby long enough, even if you're in the modern space, at some point you're going to be exposed to the history of the game, especially in the baseball world, who does that better than any other major sport. It's the one thing they do better than the others is pay homage to the history of their sport and the importance to it for the betterment of the game. And in a collecting world, you wind up there often, like, Aaron Judge's chase of Maris. And, is it the single season record in the AL? And, okay, let's talk about, Ruth and all these other guys that were in the 500 home run club. Will he join that club? So on and so forth. You wind up talking about the legends, right? And a lot of people that sparks them to then collect that stuff, right? I mean, a lot of guys in our space now talk about, well, I've collected vintage. Oh, and now I'm dipping my toe in pre-war. Like, they go back even farther, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've heard that a lot over the last year. I think there'll always be some collectors collecting vintage. I don't think there's any doubt. I think the collecting of it won't end, but the method may change, a la not set building, but player collecting, not traditional set building, maybe so much, but Hall of Fame runs, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Some of that's probably even true in like some of the pre-war space already, because it is kind of difficult to build some of those sets because of scarcity, price, you name it. When that isn't necessarily the case, like, are this young generation go back and build things from the 50s and 60s that aren't necessarily like scarce but might be a little bit more expensive? Are they going to start doing it? I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting to see might happen in another like 20 years.
Well, now I'm worried about getting old, so you guys have depressed me.
Sorry, Dan.
I'm just kidding. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought because you guys were so good. But I think we can wrap it up. I mean, we're over an hour. We still got 50 people, which is good. We went up around 60 at one point. But I really appreciate you guys coming on, not only because of your channels, both of which are excellent channels, but you're both good dudes. You're both guys who I respect greatly in terms of your collecting abilities and your knowledge of the sport, which is also very important. And that is what I was going to talk about. That's the thing I forgot. That was when my brain freeze. Set collecting gives you an opportunity to look at common cards, but there are, in my position, no common cards because every card has a story. So you can learn about players who you wouldn't normally think about or look into, and they have great stories. Like Canigliaro is a great example. So, but he's a little more well known. But I've taken cards, looked at the card, and said, I don't know anything about this guy. Look him up, and suddenly he's like a World War II hero or something. It's like that's the kind of stuff that I really feel is good for set collecting. It's one of those fringe benefits of set collecting is that it gives you more knowledge of the people who were in the sport at the time. So anyway, back to telling you guys how great you are. And thanking you for coming on. Really appreciate it. Chat was great tonight. We had some all-stars in the chat. Some guys who could have been on this screen also, who have been absolutely great collectors and have given us. Jake is talking about he did his 59 set. He's gone through every card in the 59 set on his channel on a weekly basis, which is an interesting thing. I know Alex Bowman 53 did that with his Bowman 53 set, which is, I think, a way to celebrate completing a set. And I've done shows on them, but I've never done sort of extended, periodical things on it. But we'll see. Maybe we will. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Any parting words, Jake or Mitch?
I'll go first, Mitch.
Go for it.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you having me on. It's always fun. Also, Dom, if you're still here, you're 1 in a million. Okay, you're exception to the rule. Love you, mean it. Okay.
Well, that's a good way to end the stream. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Love my hobby. Keep collecting baseball cards. But hey, we want to keep the lights on here at Four Collectors Studios, so hit the like button for us, guys.
So thanks everybody for coming, and we'll see you next time on Four Collectors.
All right, guys, have a great rest of your night. Subscribe to the Four Collectors channel if you haven't done so yet, and we'll see you soon.
All right, guys. Clemente Collector has said we hit a grand slam, so that makes me feel good.